Hello people, and welcome to DesignWise. In today's tutorial we're gonna be learning SketchUp, and I'm gonna try and teach you SketchUp in like 15-20 minutes time and learn the basic tools in SketchUp that you need to know to get designing. When you first start up SketchUp, this is what you're gonna see. You're gonna see like the different templates from which you can create a new model. I usually go with the architectural millimeters template, so let's click on that one. So this is what SketchUp looks like. It might look a bit different in yours because I have turned on some of those tools up here, but I'm gonna show you that in a minute. The first thing in SketchUp that we can start out with is like the line tool here, where you can draw lines like this. You can see down in the right hand bottom that we have like a measurement in millimeters, and you can see if I drag this and I click, I have a line here, and I can stop dragging lines if I press escape like this. You can see I've drawn a line here, but if I want a specific length to the line, I can just click and I can write like 300 and press enter, and it will make a line there is 300 millimeters. If I want this to be 300 centimeters, I can also write 300 centimeters and press enter, and you'll get a 300 centimeter line instead of 300 millimeters. So you can always change the unit depending on your preference, but again, I just usually work in millimeter. If I just delete those, I can show you that if you draw a line, you can see this one is green, and that's because it snaps to the green axis. If I drag it along this way, it will snap to the red axis, and if I drag it upwards, it will snap to the blue axis. Sometimes it's difficult to snap to these lines depending on your model. If it's quite complex and there's a lot of geometry in your model, then it can be quite hard for SketchUp to snap to these lines. So what you can also do is you can press the keyboard, you can press the arrows. So I just pressed one arrow and it snaps to the red line. If I press the top arrow, it snaps to the blue line, and the other arrow, it snaps to the green line like this. If I draw like a line that is closed, you can see it adds a face to the geometry. And this face you can do different things to. You can also draw face by taking this shapes tool up here and click and drag like this. And if you want measurements to this shapes tool here, you can see in bottom right that we have the measures. So if I want 1000, then you make this sign here and type 1000 again. It makes a 1000 by 1000 millimeter shape. And you can do different stuff to these shapes. You can press the face. You can see here that I mark the face. You can also mark the lines like this. And then you can use the extrusion or push-pull tool that it's named in SketchUp. And if you do that, you can drag these faces and extrude the shape. And you can, let's say I do like this, and I write 1200 millimeters. I have extruded it 1200 millimeters. If I want this to be the same height as the one I just made, instead of writing the input, the 1200 millimeters, I can just drag it and I can snap to this over here like this. So I drag it and I touch one of the points here. I can also snap it to the midpoint here or like the bottom here. But if I want it to be the same height, I can just snap to this point here. So those shapes are the same height now. And let's say I want to make, for some reason, a hole in this. You can use the offset tool here and then just hover it on top of one of the faces of the cubes, and then press and hold down, and then drag your mouse like this, and you can see that it makes like a new line on top of the face. And in the bottom right, you can see the distance it offsets it with. So if I want to offset it like around 100, which is here, I can just release it and then write 100 and press enter, and now there's 100 millimeters from here to here. And what's nice about SketchUp is that when you make like new lines on top of a face, you can see now I can mark this part of the box and this part of the box. You could also, if I drag a line from here to here, you can see now it has two faces here. And those I can pull and drag with the push-pull tool. And if I push it all the way down here and I snap to this point right here, it will make like a hole. It will just delete the face itself. And if I then just make a new line like this, it will make a new face. So that's a bit about the tools here. You also have, like, if you mark this model here, you have like a move tool where you can click and move it. You have a rotate tool where you can rotate your model in the different axes. And what goes for all of these tools is you can use the arrows, as I mentioned with the lines, to snap it to the different axes. So if you need to rotate it in the green axis, but you can't snap to it here, you can see right now it's blue, I can just press the arrows and snap it to the green one instead. You can also, you can see if I mark this right now, it will only mark the geometry that is inside of this square right here. So if I want to mark the whole model, I can just mark everything and then make it a group. So when I press this, now everything is marked like this. And if I want to edit the group, I can double click and you can see that this one gets kind of opaque in some way. So right now we're just editing, like I can't mark this over here anymore. I can only mark what's in the group. So making groups is a great tool when designing, because it can make it a lot easier for you to not mess up all the other geometry you have in your model. And you can always explode it again to get back. You can group it as many times you want. So make group, and then I can go inside here and make like a new thing and mark those two and make it a group again. And then if I just click outside the group, you can see now this is a group. And when I get in here, this is a group, and I can get in here and now I can mark the faces and edges and whatever. So yeah, that's a bit about grouping, which is also great for modeling. And you can also see if I just take the move tool here and I press Control, you can see that on my cursor now there's a plus, and that means that we are copying it now. So if I click and drag and put it over here, you can see I made a copy now of the model. If I just delete this again, what's also nice for architectural modeling is if you have some instances that is similar to each other, you can make families. So if I just mark this and I right click and I make a component, it's called a component, not a family, I can write like a box, right? And I can make a description of it and price, entities if that's what you need, a website for the desired model. Then I press create like this. And if you go to components here, you can see that I have this box here, and I can click it and I can just place it in my model. And what's nice about this is that you can edit component, and you can see if I were to like copy this one, you can see when I mark this, it's marked over here as well, and I can copy this and it's copied over there as well, and I can just get out here. So that's really nice if you have a lot of instances that needs to be changed throughout your modeling. And yeah, that can also be a lifesaver, like the grouping as well. Up here you have your tools, where I've just mentioned some of the tools, and you have also the erase tool where you can just like erase it like as a rubber. You have the arc tool here where you can like make different arches. If you press the drop down here, you can see you have like 3-point, 2-point arches and just the normal arc like this. And you have the pie as well, which makes a line out here. You saw the one I just drew before, it only made the outer line. This one makes like the angled lines as well to create a face. Yeah, so that's also a great tool for knowing, and you can, like for all of these, you can just type in your values down here if you have some specific values. There's also a drop down underneath the shapes where you can make circles or polygons. What's important to know about SketchUp is you cannot make a complete circle. Let me just draw a circle here. You can see here that it's not circular, it's made of these linear segments here. So if you mark all of this and you go out to this menu here, up at the top you have your entity info, and if I press the face here, you can see like the area and the tag of everything. So if I just press the outer piece of the circle, you can see it's made of 24 segments. So if I were to put a 0 behind this, like 204 segments, and press enter, you can see that now it's more circular because it's made of much more segments. Like there's a segment here, but of course that makes your model more detailed, and if you have a lot of detailed components in your model, it might get difficult in the end for you to model because there's so much geometry in your model. So keep it simple where you can keep it simple, and if you need a very detailed circle, then make it very detailed. That you do in the entity info out here. Sticking with this menu out here, I'm just going to show you what that can do. You have the entity info that tells you about the things you like press. So this face here has an area, and up here says untagged, and that's because you can tag your different geometries, and that's like, you know, putting it in different layers. So that's also something you probably want to do when you are making a bit more complicated models, because that is also very important. Just to have a nice quick overview of your model. So yeah, you have your entity info here that tells you a bit about the shape you have. Then you have your materials underneath here, and you can see that right now I'm in landscaping, fencing, and vegetation. You can also like SketchUp have some different textures. I can put it, if I click this, you get this bucket here where you can just press the face. And the great thing about SketchUp is that you can, instead of bucketing the whole model, it just does it on the faces. So you can see here right now this is a group, right, or a component. So if I press this now, it will color the whole thing. But if I just double click and go into the group where I can press the different shapes or faces, I can just press like this face here or the face inside of it. And if I wanted to color the whole thing, I could just mark everything and click, which is quite nice and easy for preparing your model for renders. So yeah, that's a great thing, and you can change these textures by selecting the face you wanna change the texture on, right click, and then go to texture and position. And in here you get like 4 different things you can change. You can change the position of the texture. You can scale it in the different direction. You can rotate it, and up here I believe you can distort it. So changing like the perspective of the texture. And then when you're done with that, you just click outside. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of different textures in here, like wood, for instance, different wood types. If you wanna make your own texture or have downloaded that texture from a website, you just go to edit and you click down here on this browse for material image file, and you get like, you can choose different textures. And you can also click on, let me just see which one it is. It's not this one. Whoop. sorry, it's up here, create material. That's actually what I wanted to show you. So you can create a new material here, and clicking on that, you get this create material pop-up bar here. And in here, you can go to the use texture image. You can see right now we have this texture here. You can go to this folder and then just browse for like a texture of some sort and put it in here and choose the dimensions of the texture. And then when you've done that, it will be in your up here in materials, or in the model here. You can see all the textures that's applied to the model. These textures up here are from the guy I deleted in the beginning. So you can also just right click and delete them if you don't need the textures. And here we have the components I just showed you before. There's not that much to it. You have all your components in here. We have this guy in here I deleted in the beginning. You have some different styles. I usually just go with this style here because I can see the textures of it, which I like. But you can change it to different styles. If you press this down here, you can also get like sketchy edges, so it looks more like a hand-drawn model. There's many different you can choose from. Some of them takes up some more space on your computer and might be harder to run. But you can change these for like if you print your SketchUp view and you need it for presenting something. So that's quite fun to look into as well. You have like a blueprint here, whiteboard. I usually just go with default styles and I choose the default style here. Sometimes when I'm exporting lines for diagrams and etc., I use the hidden line here where you cannot see the textures, right? You can also choose wireframe mode so you can see through, but I usually just use either this one or this one. I like this one because it has a colored background. So yeah, that's like your styles. Then you have the tags, and the tags are like, if I press this add tag, I can write box, for instance, just for the sake of this tutorial, and I can apply color to it. And if I press this box here and I go to the top, you can see I can put it in the box tag. And that's really nice because then you can organize your model and you can hide stuff if you need to hide it, which is just gonna make it a lot easier when you have a very complex model. So make sure to get to know this tool here because it's gonna help you out a lot. Then we have the shadows here, where you can, if you press this one, you can get like real-time shadows, and you can change the time of the day and the months here, and you can like change the values of the light and the dark to create more contrast in your light and shadows. And that's also very nice to sometimes use when you are making like presentation stuff. Then here we have the scenes, and the scenes works like this. You can press on the plus icon here to add a scene, and what it does is that if I move this viewport now and I double click on this one, then you have a scene. And that's really good for if you're rendering within SketchUp. Then you can make like different rendered views. What's important to note about these is that if I make a new scene and I move this one, you see it doesn't update over here. It's the same, so you have to right click it and update scene, and then you can choose what to update. And I just want to update everything. And then you can see it's moved over here. So right now I have two scenes, 1 and 2. And they are also up here, scene 1 and scene 2. And let's say for this scene, I want the shadows to change. It's also important that when you do that you go down here and update scene. Otherwise, when you press the scene, the shadows are gonna go back. You can see here, the shadows change for the first scene, and the second scene they change as well. So that's the scenes. And then we have the instructor. That's just like you can select the tool and get to know the different or learn the different tools in SketchUp. But of course, that's also what I'm trying to do. And then we have the soften edges. That's more like, yeah, let's just quickly get into this. If you take you can create like a surface like this with this tool here. Just drag it like this. And you take this loft of the press tool here. Then you can like, you have to double click this so you're in the group, mark it, and then choose this tool. You can see here I can drag these like this, and that's good for creating like terrains and stuff. But SketchUp is not like a NURBS program. It can create like these nice bendy shapes. Everything consists of either meshes or polylines. So to make this look a bit more organic, you can like mark these and go to the soften edges component, and then if you crank this up here, you can see it gets a bit more organic in its shape. You can also choose soften coplanar. It doesn't do that much, but that's just to soften up your geometry a little bit. So that's what the soften edges tool does. If we go up here, you can see I have these tools here, and I have maybe some other tools that you don't have at the moment. And the reason for that is you can go up to the view, go to view and toolbars, and here you can click on different tools. There's many tools in the program that you can use. I usually don't have all of these on because some of them are the same. Like for instance, you can see this part that I have chosen here. You also have the rotate here. This rotate tool, you just click and move around in the viewport. And if you choose this one, you can just drag like this. But if you press the middle mouse, like the middle mouse button on your mouse, you can rotate. And if you press that one and you press shift, you can pan like this. And yeah, so there's just some different tools up here you can start out by learning. If it just take, I usually don't use these, so I'm not gonna explain these. I usually use these, which is like views. So that's just how you view your model. You can see right now, if I look at in the plan section here, that it's still like it's not 100% in plan. And that's, if you go to camera, you can choose, like right now we're in perspective. You can also choose parallel projection, and then it's gonna be like totally planar. And you can also choose like the 2-point perspective, which looks like this. But if you rotate like I just did here, it's gonna go back to perspective. So you can only like go to a scene, choose the camera, 2-point, and then you can pan like this, but you cannot rotate because then it's gonna jump over to perspective. And then just set up your view, like update this view here, and then when I jump to this one, it's gonna be in 2-point perspective. And then when I rotate it, it's gonna jump back to perspective. So that's a bit about the tools. So here you can just see a model from different angles. What else do we have? These tools here, you can create like sections. So if I snap it to the green one and I press here, and I can just call it section 1, and I choose the move tool, you can see I can mark this like this, and I can drag it like this, and it's gonna cut my geometry like this. So that you can use for making sections. And you can choose by clicking these how it's gonna be displayed. Like this one hides the planes, this one like overrides it, so you can still see it. And if you double click on it now, it's gonna start working again. But if you click like this, you can just disable it. And this one is gonna fill out the geometry where it cuts. So if I depress this one, it's gonna be like you can see inside the geometry. But if I click this, it's gonna make a fill, which is also quite nice. Here we have the like landscape tools. So you just use this terrain mesh and the shaping the terrain mesh, you can also like drop edges and like project them onto faces. And then this one creates like contours, or it creates a surface from contours. Very important to know that as well. So if you just imported like a CAD file with contours, you can just select them all and press this one. It's gonna make a terrain from that. We also have like these tools here. This is the 3D warehouse, which is something SketchUp is quite known for. If you press on that one, you can come in here and just search for different models. Let's see if I choose this small cabin here. If I click on that one, like this. Sorry, I had to click on the name apparently. You can go to the shit and download and configure. Load this directly into a SketchUp model. Yes. Then it's gonna download. Gonna get back into SketchUp, and then I can just place it like this. So that's the 3D warehouse, which I also quite enjoy using. But again, some of the models in the warehouse are quite complex, and so be aware of that when you're modeling. It can become quite complex to many. Tiny pause for at se om OBS stadig record. Så virker det tændt op. Satser på. So we also have like extension warehouse where you can download extensions for SketchUp. I don't have that many extensions. And here you can export it to layout. I don't really use layout, to be honest, but if you do, then you can export your geometry to layout and make like plans and sections of your model. This up here is just a scale tool where you click and you can drag your model in different directions like this. I believe you can also, like if you press shift, you can scale it uniformly. Yeah, I'm not gonna explain all the tools because I don't really use all the tools. I can just quickly try and explain the follow me tool. So if I just draw like a box again, like this, and extrude it like this. Let's say I have like, if I just drag like a corner like this, and I want to make this shape around the whole thing, I'm gonna press this one here, and you can see now it's gonna be red, 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 and red. And if I click, it's gonna make that shape around my geometry. And let's just try quickly with another shape. Like, let's try and make an orange. I don't know if that became a bit too big, like this. And I take the follow me tool. You just click inside of the shape you wanna create around your geometry, and then you just drag it like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. And you can see that it marks the different. Sometimes it's messing up, but not always, but sometimes it might mess up. So in that way you can make like a shape around you. So up here in the tools you also have like zoom extend. If you click that, it will just make everything that's visible in your scene. It will just zoom to make everything fit in your scene. If you are going to mark something in SketchUp, let's say this one here, I'm just gonna explode these segments here, so they are individual. Let me just click that one and explode curve. So now you can see it's many curves like this. What you might notice is that if I do like this, it's gonna mark the face. And that's because I'm dragging from bottom right to top left. But if I do it opposite, like top left to bottom right, it's only gonna mark what's inside of this square I make here. So if you do like this, it's gonna mark everything that this square touches. Whereas if you do it like this, it's just everything that's inside of this, so like that. So that's a great way of marking your geometry as well. And just knowing that is quite good, I think, because sometimes you might have like, maybe I can show you quickly, like this. Let's say I have like this geometry here, and I have many of them, right? So I just mark this, and I'm gonna show you a really nice tool now again. And I copied it like 1000, right? 1000. When you have written 1000, then you can type X and then choose how many you wanna move 1000 millimeters away from each other. So let's say 10, X10, and press enter. Now it's gonna like array the geometry I just made, which is quite nice. Let's say I wanna mark only the top face on each of these, right? So if I go to this view, if I were to mark it from here and upwards, you see I get like almost all of the geometry except for the bottom here. And that's because all of these faces and all of these lines here, they are being like, yeah, this square like touches them. So if I just wanna take the top here, I can just do like this. And now I have only marked the top, which is also a great tool. So yeah, that's really important to know, I think, when, at least for architectural modeling, because sometimes you wanna, yeah, do these kind of things. So yeah, arraying the geometry, you can do that for whatever you wanna do. Just make sure you copy it first and then just write X4, like, and then you can copy it, like. So guys, I believe that's it for you to start getting to know SketchUp. These are just the basics. There's of course a lot more to SketchUp that you can dive into, but I think this covers like the basics and will get you up to grips with the program really quickly. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions about SketchUp, and I'll try to answer them in the comment section. And just have a great day, and peace.